We're on to the next part in this series, PG-0003. What we're doing is we're going to use Fusion 360 to make code and milling one end off to clean. So we're going to bring our model down to 2.97 long. I have already renamed my file for PG-003. So stop and do that right now if you have to do that. So file, save as PG-003. We're going to go back to design, and we're going to open up our sketch down here and change this to 2.970. Finish that sketch. It'll update the length of our part to 2.970. Going to go back to manufacturing. All right. And we're going to do a new setup. And we can do it facing this same way. Setup, new setup. Oh, actually, looks like we want to flip this upside down. That's fine. And we can keep this. We're actually going to change something here, but we can keep this orientation. This should be fine. What we want to do is change where this point is here, where the X, Y, Z come together for our datum. We're going to what we're going to do is we change the box as origin from stock box point to model box point, and then we're going to click this one up here. So we want to ignore this stock that we've already cut off and basically go to the part where it is currently. That's where we want to go from. Make sure that's done, or it won't work right. The stock will be fine as it is from previous. And post-processor, we want to give it some other name, whatever you want it to be. And then, of course, our comments, PG-0003. And this is going to mill one end. Clean. G54 upper left. Okay. So now what we've got to do is, for setup 3, we're going to do what's called a contour. So click on 2D, then on 2D contour. That's just means it's just going to cut along an edge. That's all it's going to do. So we're side milling, right? We need our tool. It threw the facing tool in there. That won't be good for side milling. We need to go make an end mill for this. So we're going to go click on our library, your own tool library, and we're going to do add. This time flat end mill. So like before, the description is the only thing I'm going to put in here. So I'll put 1/2 flat end mill. Okay. Cutter itself is going to be a flat end mill, inches, clockwise rotation. Number of flutes should be 2. Flutes, high-speed steel is good. Got to change the diameter to be 0.5. Shaft diameter will just automatically be the same as that. The overall length isn't really important. What's important is the flute length. Now we have a part that's 750 thousandths, so we're going to need at least that. So I would change the flute length to 1 inch. We want to make sure we have 1 inch long flute. That just changed over here. So the orange area is the cutting area. All right. Skip shaft, skip holder. We got to do some cutting data. Spindle speed for 1/2 inch we know is 1600 from our calculations. Cutting feed rate of 40 inches a minute for this is too much by a lot. So I'm going to change this to 10.0. Tab. All right. 1600 RPM. Cutting feed rate's 10 inches a minute. That's all we have to do. Post-processor, it gives us tool number 2 automatically. If it wasn't, I would put this as tool 2. That's fine. Or you could put it as tool 1. Doesn't matter, because it could be a separate program you're using this on. We can always change these things later on. So I'm going to accept that. All right. And then with that highlighted, I'll select tool number 1, flat end mill, and then go to the next tab, which is geometry. If I just want to cut across here. All right. So that doesn't quite work if I do that, right? It wants me to collect an edge. The problem is, if I go back to contour again and I'm going to reselect my tool, flat end mill. go to here. If I try to click the edge, it's going to click the entire edge. And that's no good. It doesn't. We don't want to cut all the way around the pot. We just want to cut the end. Well, let me unselect that. So X that out. What I've got to do is hold down my Alt key. With that held down, I can click on just this one line. All right. So it's going to cut from here this way. Heights, I'm not going to mess with that right now. It's nothing we're going to get into until later on. We don't have to worry about it. Keep this simple. The passes, we don't have to change anything there, and we don't have to change anything on linking. So we just click OK. And what that shows is this coming down and cutting this edge. So if we simulate setup 3, comes down and it sets. One thing I have a problem with here is when this cuts to the depth, it doesn't quite cut. We should have that drop down a little bit lower so we don't end up with that extra material sticking off. So I want to bring the end mill down further in the Z-axis. I'm going to exit my simulation. I'm going to go over to 2D contour, double click on that icon. And I do want to make a difference in one of my heights. So I'm going to go to the Heights tab, and where it says Bottom Height, it says From Selected Contour. I'm going to go minus 0.02, 20,000. So we'll go a little bit deeper. All right. So what that does is it drops it below this bottom surface so we can have a nice clean edge. I'll simulate that again. You can see that's going down a little bit further. That's good. Exit the simulation. I'm going to save this. And now I can go ahead and post-process just that one setup if I want. All right. Put my O in there. Make sure my parameters are good. And post it out. View NC code. And I can copy and paste this into the Google Doc. And that's all there is to contouring. One end.